I used to think being a night guard at a hospital was the most pleasant job in the world. Quiet, clean, a warm place to sit, and only a few rounds a night. But that was before I took the shift at St. Helena Hospital in suburban Vermont, a place where more than just the living are awake at night. I started there in the winter of 2018, after leaving the construction site. The job was simple: manning the back gate, checking the hallways every hour, logging any incidents. The hospital had only 3 floors left. The 4th floor and the old surgical area had been closed since the 1992. During the day, it was crowded with patients. But at night it was so quiet you could hear the clock hands drop to the floor. The first night, I got my key card, radio, and instructions. The shift leader, Mr. Peterson, tapped me on the shoulder. "If you hear an alarm on the 3rd floor, just check quickly. But don't go to the 4th floor. It's locked, there's a reason." I thought he was just trying to scare the new guy. Everyone in the hospital likes to tell ghost stories. I laughed and said, "I don't believe in that stuff." He didn't laugh back, just whispered, "No need to believe it, just don't be curious." The shift started at 10 o'clock. The hallway was long. The fluorescent lights were pale yellow. I walked through the emergency room, the recovery room, and then to the nursing area. Most of the rooms were dark, with only a few indicator lights flashing. Occasionally, a long beep of the heart monitor made the air heavier. At about 11:30, I sat in the security room, watching the cameras. 12 screens were spread across the area, but the top right corner, floor 4, corridor B, was always black. I was about to ask why, when the radio crackled. "Guard, check corridor 3. The indicator light for room 209 is on." I grabbed my flashlight and walked. Corridor 200 was on the east side, next to the old elevator. The fluorescent lights flashed, reflecting off the tiled floor like water. Door 209 was ajar. A dim white light spilled out. I knocked. No answer. I pushed the door open. The room was empty. The bed was folded up. The white sheets were flat. No one was there. The ceiling light was flickering as if it was about to burn out. I turned off the light, closed the door, and went back to the guard room. 5 minutes later, the radio crackled again. "Room 209. The light is back on." I turned back. This time, the light in the room was bright. The curtain was shaking slightly. I felt a chill. I walked in, turned off the light again, took out the bulb, and took it with me. When I turned my back, the curtain behind the bed moved slightly, as if someone had passed by. I pulled it open. It was empty, but there was a round watermark on the floor, like a footprint left after coming from the hallway. I wrote in the notebook, 012, light 209 turned on twice, checked, no one. The next shift went on normally, but every night I saw something in 209. Some days the curtains would draw. Some days the door would open. Some nights I would hear the bed rustling even though the camera showed it was empty. I asked Peterson, and he just sighed. That room used to be the emergency room. The last person there died on the night shift. You don't need to know the name. I kept working, but I started noticing other little things. The elevator light on the 4th floor at 2:17 a.m. Even though the system was off, the camera picked up a blurry figure walking across the 301 hallway at 3:05 a.m., and the elevator ping when it started while the main circuit breaker was still off. One night in late January, it was snowing. The power was intermittent. Peterson was out sick, and I was on duty alone. Around 2 o'clock, the alarm went off the 4th floor. I looked up at the camera screen. The corner of the black hallway suddenly flashed. In the frame, I saw a silhouette wearing a hospital gown, head bowed, walking slowly towards the elevator. Face unclear but small figure, thin shoulders, long hair. I blinked, then the image disappeared. I tried to change to another camera, everything was black again. But the elevator light was ding, as if someone pressed a button. I listened to Peterson. Don't go to the 4th floor. I tried to ignore it, but the bell rang again, this time from the nurse's office on the 3rd floor. I took the lamp and walked. The elevator door was ajar. The silhouette I had just seen on the screen was standing with his back turned. The yellow light fell on his shoulders, his arms hanging down. Before I could speak, the door slowly closed. The elevator moved to the 4th floor. I only heard ding, and then silence. I ran back to the camera room. The 4th floor hallway screen lit up, showing a moving black strip. I zoomed in. The silhouette was walking slowly down the hallway, holding something dimly lit. It seemed to be a flashlight identical to mine. Then the image faded, disappeared. The next morning I went to ask the electrical engineer about the 4th floor. He said the power supply to that floor was completely cut off. The lights couldn't be turned on or the elevator could not be opened. I told him about seeing people. He smiled faintly. You're the 3rd person to say that. The first was Peterson in 2015. The 4th floor used to be the maternity ward, but after the fire, it was closed. That night, I arrived early, wanting to review the hospital records. In the old library, I found a file from 1994. Mother died due to complications after giving birth. Patient Emily D., room 209. I sat still, my heart cold. 209, my room every night. The next night, I planned to take a break, but strangely, I felt like going back. At this workplace, everything was repetitive, as if someone was waiting. Around 1 a.m., as I passed 209, the door swung open, light spilling out into the hallway. Someone was sitting on the bed. White hospital gown, loose hair, head bowed. I stood frozen, my hands shaking. She looked up, her eyes clear, not cloudy like a dead person. It was just a look so sad that I couldn't leave. I stepped back, stammering, "Do you need any help?" She smiled slightly, her voice as light as the wind. "I just want to know if my child is okay." Then the light went out. The room was empty. There was only a small dent on the bed, and a piece of old paper folded in half. I opened it. The words were trembling. "Night shift. Please don't turn off the light. I'm afraid of the dark." From that day on, every night I left the light on room 209 on. There was no more alarm, no more shadow of a person in the camera. The elevator on the 4th floor was no longer on. A few months later, I left the hospital. Before leaving, I stopped by, lit a small candle on the door of room 209. I didn't know why, I just felt at peace. That day, when I walked through the door, the radio suddenly turned on. No one touched it. "Guard shift, check corridor 3, light 209 is on." I smiled and whispered into the radio, "Leave it on." I still work the night shift now, but elsewhere. Sometimes, in the hallway of the new hospital, I see the last room light on alone at 2 a.m., and I don't turn it off anymore. I think maybe somewhere, someone is still afraid of the dark. And sometimes, my job isn't to guard the door, but to keep the light on. I never feared winter until I lived in a house with breathing floors and listening walls. It was 34 years old, the year everything in my life was falling apart. My job, my marriage, my health. When my wife moved out, I decided to leave the city for a while. renting a small house in the Vermont mountains, about 20 miles from the nearest place with a cell phone. I only planned to stay for a few months, read books, write errands, and forget my old self. The house stood alone in the pine forest, its steep roof, rusty chimney, and wooden porch covered in a thin layer of snow. The broker handed me the keys and said, the previous owners were an elderly couple. They moved out last winter after a sad incident. But the house is still in good condition, just a little cold. She smiled awkwardly, then quickly changed the subject. I figured there were all kinds of sad incidents: old people, winter, loneliness. I signed the contract, got the keys, and drove up the mountain in the white mist. Day 1. The house was smaller than I expected. The living room had a stone fireplace, worn leather chairs, and a round window overlooking the woods. Next to it was a wooden staircase leading to the attic. Everything was silent, as if forgotten. Only a photo hung crookedly on the wall of two people standing by a snow-covered fence, their faces blurred by the light. I assumed they were the previous owners. In the evening, I lit the stove, listening to the crackling of wood. Snow was falling heavily outside the window. I made tea and turned on the radio. The local station had a weak signal, intermittent. Between the static, I heard a faint sentence. Weather warning: blizzard to continue until tomorrow morning. I turned off the radio, wrapped myself in a blanket, and sat near the fireplace. Near midnight, I heard something above the ceiling. Thump, thump, as if someone was walking slowly in the attic. I told myself it was just the wind, or snow falling from the roof tiles. But then the sound stopped right above me, in the corner of the ceiling where I knew there was no room. I looked up, a soft groan of wood, then silence. I couldn't sleep that night. The second day, in the morning, the snow was deep enough to reach the porch. I cleaned the house, lit more firewood. When I went upstairs to find a blanket, I saw the attic door was slightly open. The stairs leading up were old wood, creaking with each step. I picked up a flashlight and shone it on. There were only a few old boxes, a wooden cabinet, and a rusty wheelchair placed against the wall. I don't know why, but the sight made me shiver. I closed the door and pulled the latch. As the afternoon wore on, the wind howled harder, and fog covered the forest. I heard dogs howling in the distance, a rare sound in this area. As I sat near the stove, I saw a faint streak of light coming from the ceiling where the attic stairs were. I shined the light on. The door was still locked, but a dim white light filtered through the wood. I climbed up, pulled the latch open. Cold air poured down. In the attic, in the darkness, a small light came from an old radio lying on the table. It was on, but there was no sound except the static. I was sure I had never seen this radio before. I reached over and turned it off. When I turned back down, I caught a glimpse in the fireplace mirror in the reflected corner of a person sitting in a wheelchair, head tilted, white hair, looking down the stairs. I turned back. No one. Just the cold air wrapped around my sleeves. Day 3. I started writing everything down in a notebook as a way to stay sane. At noon, the snow stopped. The sun came out weakly. I went outside to breathe in the cold air, took a few pictures and sent them to a friend. When I came back, the door was ajar. I was sure I had locked it. Inside, the chair was pulled out of place, and on the table was an old piece of paper. The yellowed paper, the handwriting shaky. If you hear footsteps, don't go up. Leave them there. I looked around. No footprints. No one. I was really scared. That night, I piled more wood and sat watching the stove. Outside, the storm was back, the wind whistling through the cracks in the door like a sigh. I had just closed my eyes for a moment when I heard a rattling sound. I opened my eyes. The radio in the attic was on again. This time it wasn't a crackle, but a weak voice, as if from afar. "I'm so cold. Light a fire." A man's voice, hoarse, trembling. I stood up, took the lamp, and climbed up. When I reached the third step, the light went out. I stood still in the darkness. The sound of wheels rolling slowly, creaking, came toward me. I backed away, fell to the floor. The attic door slammed shut. Everything was silent. I sat there until morning, not daring to sleep. Day 4. In the morning, everything was as quiet as ever. But I noticed something. On the wall next to the fireplace, the paint peeled off, revealing a charcoal letter. "I'm still here, waiting for the snow to melt." I almost ran away from the house, but the snowstorm wasn't over. The roads were closed. I was stuck for another night. That night, resentment and fear mingled. I turned on all the lights and sat by the stove, but the fire burned out quickly. The wood was wet. I heard the wind, the cracking of wood, and then footsteps. Not upstairs this time, but downstairs, right behind me. I turned around. An old man stood in the window, the firelight illuminating his pale face, his eyes as dull as ice. He was wearing a gray sweater, his feet bare. "You shouldn't have made such a big fire," he said slowly. "The smoke will wake her." I was stunned. "Which woman?" He didn't answer, just pointed up at the ceiling. I looked through the thin layer of smoke. I saw the shape of someone sitting in a wheelchair, looking down. I don't remember when I fainted. The next morning, when I woke up, I was lying on the floor, next to the wide open door. Outside, the weak sunlight shone through the snow. There was no one in the house. The radio was gone. I packed up and left that same morning. On the way down the mountain, I met a local man, the owner of the gas station. I briefly told him about the house. After listening, he just shook his head slightly. That house used to belong to the Lerman couple. He was paralyzed on one side and lived in the attic. One cold night, she went downstairs to get firewood. The stove exploded, and the fire spread. She died, and he was stuck up there for several days, and no one found him until the snow melted. I was silent. After that, everyone who lived there heard the sound of a wheelchair. For years, no one rented it anymore. I thanked him and drove away. Behind me, the mountains were white. I thought I heard a faint crackle somewhere in the wind, a radio, and in between a whisper. "The snow has melted, but I'm still cold." I never went back to the mountains. But every winter, when I looked out the window at the snow, I thought of the log house with the stone fireplace, where someone was still waiting for the fire to be lit one last time. I understood now that some places are not cold because of the weather, but because someone has not yet finished their winter. I live alone in a small apartment in Portland, Maine. One bedroom, a window overlooking a parking lot, and a desk next to my bed. I work as a freelance graphic designer, spending most of my time indoors during the endless winter nights. My phone is the only thing that makes me feel connected to the world. I sleep with it face down, charging overnight. I never expected it to make me question everything, including whether I'm really alone. Day 1. When I woke up on Tuesday morning, I found a new photo in my photo gallery taken at 2:43 a.m. I remember it because my phone is always on silent, not turning itself on. The photo was blurry. The angle was from the foot of the bed, looking up at the headboard where I was lying. The pale blue light from the window blurred everything, but it was clearly me asleep, my arms wrapped around the blanket. I think I accidentally touched the shutter button while turning around. That's it. I deleted the photo, not caring. But in my head, I still felt like something was wrong. Because I remembered I left my phone face down. Day 2. I checked the camera, the lock, everything was fine. That night, I locked the door, turned off the lights, and drew the curtains. The next morning, there was a new photo, this time at 3:08 a.m. Same angle, but different lighting. The window was open. The curtains were swaying. I was still sleeping, but on the corner of the bed, there was a blurry shadow like an arm reaching towards me. I zoomed in. The screen was grainy, but the shape was clearly a human hand, bony, thin, long-fingered. I deleted the photo, but before I did, I noticed the small text below. Photo taken with front camera. I didn't understand. The phone was face down. How could it use the front camera? Day 3. I tried to point the camera at the ceiling, turned on night mode, thinking I would catch something, maybe a cat, a light, a reflection. When I reviewed it, I saw that for the first hour or so, there was only the sound of wind outside the door. At 3 a.m., the microphone picked up a rustling sound like fabric hitting a wooden floor. Then, a figure passed by the lens. Only for a few seconds, but enough to make my heart freeze. The person was wearing long sleeves, head tilted, walking slowly around the bed, and then disappeared. I didn't hear the door open. There was no one else but me. I called the police. They came, checked the lock, the windows, no trace. They told me I might be having hallucinations from lack of sleep. They advised me to rest, turn off my phone before going to bed. I did, but I still couldn't sleep. Day 4. I dreamed that I woke up in the same room, but the curtains were open and a cold wind was blowing. I got up, about to pull the curtains, and saw someone standing outside right under the lamppost. A thin, dark figure, head bowed. When I approached the window, the person looked up too, and I saw my own face, but eyes were blank. I woke up, sweating. My phone vibrated on the table. The screen lit up notification. One new photo saved at 3:09 a.m. I opened it. It was of me sitting on the bed, eyes open, looking straight into the lens. I don't remember waking up. Day 5. I didn't go out. I covered the mirror, even the laptop camera. I put the phone in the closet, took out the battery. I wanted to see who was breaking in, so I left an old spare phone recording all night. The next morning, when I checked, the memory was full. Only 2 hours had been recorded. At 47 minutes, I saw the door to the room open very slowly, without a sound. A dry, skinny hand reached in, placed something on the bedside table, and closed it. When I zoomed in, it was my phone. I ran to the closet. The door was slightly open. The phone was still there, its battery still full. But in the photo gallery, there was a new photo, me lying on the bed, the blanket pulled up to my chest, and on the table was a spare phone recording. The angle was exactly the same as the video frame, as if someone was standing behind the camera. Day 6. I hired a locksmith to change all the doors, install alarms, and sensor lights. At night, I slept with the lights on. I didn't dare turn them off. At 3 a.m., the alarm rang. There was movement outside the door. I grabbed a flashlight and opened the door. The hallway was empty, but the phone on the table lit up. A notification. Photo sent successfully. I opened the gallery. New photo taken from the door, facing the room. I was standing in the photo, holding a flashlight, looking into the lens. I turned off the phone, removed the SIM card. I felt like I was being watched right inside my own body. Day 7. I moved to a hotel near the center. I bought a new phone, new number, New account. I didn't log in. I tried to believe that the nightmare was over. 3 days passed peacefully. On the 4th night, I woke up to a notification. A message from an unknown number, no name. One photo. I opened it. The photo was of me lying on the hotel bed. The angle was from the ceiling, exactly like the security camera angle. But I knew this room didn't have a camera. In the corner of the photo, reflected on the glass table, was a picture of a hand holding a phone. Long nails, cracked skin. Day 8. I went to the police again. They checked the number that sent the photo. It didn't exist. I asked to check the hotel system. The manager confirmed that no one had entered my room. There was no log of the door opening, no hallway camera recording. I couldn't sleep that night. I put the phone in the bathtub, covered up on the couch. But at 3:11, the screen flashed. A new photo of me, covered up, at the exact moment I was looking at the phone. Shot from behind. I left Portland the next morning. I left everything behind. I changed my number, my home, my social media. I stopped using a camera phone. I kept the last photo not because I wanted to, but because the police needed it. When they analyzed it, they found no EXIF data, no device information. But a technician whispered to me, hesitantly, "Do you see anything strange?" Every photo was taken at exactly 3:09 a.m. But the time zone says 3:09 a.m., 2016. I was silent. 2016 was the year my apartment had a murder. A man committed suicide in that same room after losing his wife in a car accident. The police showed me photos of the scene. Pale blue light, window ajar, angled from the foot of the bed. Exactly like the first photo on my phone. Now I live in a place with no signal, using a brick phone. But sometimes, at 3 a.m., I still see the pale blue light flashing through the window, and the faint click like someone just took a picture. I don't open the curtains. I don't want to know whose picture it is this time.